everyone. Welcome to In the Family Room. I am your host and creator of this space, Tracy Wade. I am so delighted to have you guys back with us here in the family room. Do me a favor, if you have not, go ahead and start sharing this live. If you are on YouTube, make sure you are subscribing to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're like me, I listen to a lot of my podcasts on Spotify. We are on Spotify, iHeartRadio, as well as Apple. And so you might be wondering, like, you know what? I don't need to look at them. I just want to hear the content. So look us up by searching In the Family Room. I am really, really excited about tonight's discussion because I think it's something that we don't often think about. We don't sometimes have these conversations about our friendships. And I am so excited to have this wonderful young lady, well, let's just say this wonderful woman, this expert in friendships on tonight. Her name is Anika Allen. She is your friendship consultant. I have been following her for, oh God, Anika, I've been following you probably for about 2 years, maybe. And I
Okay.
love, love, love her content. She has put information out about friendships that has been, for me, very inspiring, very encouraging. She's put some things out that have definitely had me pondering and wondering some things pertaining to my own relationships. And so, Anika, welcome to the family room.
Thank you so much. I'm excited and I appreciate you giving me that compliment around, some of the things that I do around social health having an impact. A lot of us are online. We feel like we're just talking sometimes into the atmosphere. So when you get feedback that someone says it's resonating, it's just another reinforcement that it's all worth it.
I love it. I love it. And then she certainly is not a stranger in my life. She is one of my dearest and closest friends. We have been friends now, oh gosh, probably probably about 16 years. Um,
It's yeah,
and I asked her to come on because we're going to be talking about friendships, y'all. Nancy DeCaul, welcome to the family room. I finally got you up in here.
thank you, Tracy. I am happy to be here and to be part of this discussion, and I'm looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. And I just, just a backdrop, I want to say thank you for supporting your friend. I love you so much. She didn't give me a hard time. Okay, she said I was a little bossy, but everyone who knows me knows that that's just who I am. But she said yes to the assignment. The reason why I wanted to bring and have this conversation is because we are in a series about the next chapter in our lives. And I do believe that sometimes that pertains to our friendships. Um, and one of the reasons why I asked Nancy to come in is because our relationship changed a little bit. I relocated here back in during the pandemic in 2020, and it was a drastic change. I feel it was a very drastic change, and I'm going to let her talk a little bit. But Nancy, do you recall the first time you met me? How did we let the people know? How did we become friends?
We met at Majestic Life. Um, Tracy was overseeing the hospitality department along with another person. And basically, again, having a servant's heart, volunteered to assist with an event that was coming up. And I would say it just blossomed from there. We did not force the friendship. We just happened to sync with each other and started working with each other. Um, and again, it was like, okay, she was always a boss. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Okay. She was always bossy.
But we connected. We did connect. We saw things basically along the same lines. Um, and our friendship grew. It grew so much that when Tracy actually became like the director of hospitality and created teams, we just flowed together. It was in sync. She can basically leave and she knows that the event was going to happen. Everything would flow smoothly. She didn't have to worry about anything. Um, because we worked so well together that even on off of hospitality also, we just connected. And I will tell you, there are times that I was like, okay, who's this lady? God, what are you doing here? Why is she in my life? But I love her. And that was the beginning.
That was the beginning. Yes, that was the beginning. And so I wanted to just kind of share that. Thank you, Nancy. I kind of wanted to share that backstory in regards to how we met. It grew so naturally to the point where before I moved up here, if I was not at home, everyone knew that I was probably out doing some shopping or I was at Nancy's house. That's how close we had become. Our families are very close. My children, they know who she is, you know. Um, I think yeah, like very close. And so everything shifted a little bit when I moved, which is why I wanted to have you on, Anika. Um, I want you to first kind of tell us a little bit about yourself, about your business, and what you do, so that our audience can get a feel of of what you are all about.
I would be happy to. So, my name is Anika Allen. I am the founder of Five Star Friendships. I am a friendship consultant and a social health educator. And usually, when I tell people I am a friendship consultant, their eyes either go like this, like, what is that? Or they get really wide and they're like, that sounds fascinating. And so basically, we are already familiar with physical health. If I asked you things you need to do to improve your physical health, you might say eat better, move my body, get sleep. And those are all true. We are more familiar now with mental health, right? At least when we were growing up, we didn't have mental health days off school or anything like that. It was embarrassing to some to say I'm in therapy, but people have a better understanding now around taking care of mental health and the benefits of it in terms of making sure that you're calm and that you recognize your triggers, etc. But the area that we don't know as much about is social health. And that's where I come in. Once I saw some of the research, and there's tons of research around social health and social connection being the number one predictor of whether you're going to have a long, healthy, happy life, I was instantly hooked. I went down a rabbit hole and just started doing so much research around social health. And once I became a fan and a believer, I said it's my mission to spread this to everyone. So I do personal one-on-one consultations. I do workshops. I do keynotes. I have a journal that I've written. We'll talk about that later. All under my Five Star Friendships. Anywhere you see me, you'll see I have a star on, probably a necklace or an earring or my bag or something. Just letting people know that I am all about reminding people to prioritize their social health because it has a ripple effect in terms of your physical and your mental well-being.
That is so phenomenal. Now, most people don't associate friendships with social health. Why is this so important? What is the connection as it pertains to it, and why is it so important to us?
So, one of the first things I do anytime I'm speaking is I share research. The longest running study on happiness conducted by Harvard University is called the Study of Adult Development. So, on I think 83 years now, no one has studied health and happiness consistently for that long. So, they took these adolescents at the time and they have been following them every few years. They check in, they do their physical vitals, they check their emotional health, anything you can think of in terms of how well they believe they are doing in life. And what they have learned is that at the end quote, near the end of your life, the thing that made the people who consistently rated the happiest, it didn't have anything to do with their income or their zip code or if they had kids or what kind of car they drove. Consistently across the board, it was social connection. You need to have the right people in your life or you are going to be not as happy as you could be. And I know because of the way the world is operating, we feel like things are automated, so we don't need people as much. But the opposite is true. The more we have automated over the years, the more isolated we have become. And to the extent where they've declared loneliness a national epidemic in this country. And there are people who are suffering by not having someone they can call. Like in the last 20, little over 20 years, we've had the highest jump, almost 300% of people saying they have zero friends. That wasn't the case over 20 years ago. 300% more people saying I have not one single person that I can confide in, call on, be supportive. And you see what's going on in our society, whether it's mass shootings or, just skyrocketing rates of depression. And so the studies out there show that if you do have consistent isolation, because obviously we all need our me time. We all just want to unplug from the matrix. We all want to just, nobody, disturb me. I'm not talking about those little moments when you just need to be disconnected. But I'm talking about consistently where you don't have good people, you don't have friends in your life, their life expectancy is cut short. It's equivalent to someone who is a smoker or someone who has diabetes. And those are serious numbers. So when we talk about friendship, when I talk about friendship, I'm telling people this is not a luxury. It's a necessity in terms of how long and how healthy and happy you want to walk this earth.
300%. That's really a lot. I have been blessed to have friendships throughout my life, and so the thought of having no one as a friend is, it doesn't even, I can't even comprehend that. Nevertheless, I want to talk about because I believe that there are people who just don't know how to make friendships, and so that's one of the things that I want to. That's one of the things that I want to encourage those that might be a little shy and they feel as though they don't have friendships or they had friendships and it's shifted to where they no longer have friendships. Um, what are some of the things that you would suggest to start building those relationships of like really just first meeting new people, how to go about that, especially at a seasoned age, let's say. You're not a young chicken anymore. And so maybe, your life has just changed or whatnot. What are some things you recommend?
The first thing I do is tell you that it's a mindset shift, like anything else. If you are going to get healthier in your physical body, right, you have to shift your mindset. You can't think, well, I'm just going to diet for 2 weeks. It has to be a shift in your lifestyle. And so your mindset around friendship, if you're telling yourself, well, that's for social butterflies, that's for certain kinds of people. It is not for certain types of people. You can be quote unquote shy or introverted and still have really good friendships. That is one of the myths around friendship. You don't have to have a lot of people. You don't have to be out all the time. It's really a quality over quantity thing. Because there are people that have a lot of friends, right? Quote unquote friends, but they don't go deep with them, right? You just need a couple people and not more than one, 2 to 3 people in your life who you can go deep with and feel vulnerable with. One of the things also, I wish that we would start to focus on the younger generation so that we don't have this same epidemic 20 years from now. How many did you guys do stranger danger when you were a kid, whether it was your family or at school, and they tell you, don't go and help them find that lost dog, or don't go in the van when they offer you candy, that kind of stuff. They used to say that, and you would practice and you would role play with your children to keep them safe. We don't do that with friendship, and we should be role playing with our children when they are going to school and, giving them tools they need to say, this is how you make new friends. First, you have to be a good friend, right? You can compliment somebody. And these rules apply not just to children, but to adults. One of the best ways you can do is a genuine compliment. Now, you see something that somebody's wearing or they're doing or the way they're behaving, and you give them a compliment on it. You can ask a question is another way to approach somebody. And again, not things you're making up, genuine questions like, um, I really like what you're wearing. I'm looking for a similar gift for my mother, or you look like you work out, where do you go? I see you're reading some kind of book. I'm looking for a book, like things where you're really trying to get to know the other person. Sometimes we get too focused on trying to be liked, for the person to be interested in us. So we want to be interesting, right? It's like, I'm not cool enough. And you really don't have to be overly interesting. You just have to show interest in the other person. Those are great ways to just start conversation, by asking questions that show you're really interested in learning more about someone else.
I am one. I don't like friendships that are forced. Most of my friendships were naturally done. And so when someone, especially if someone is approaching me and they're trying to get to know me, that's uncomfortable for me. It's a red flag for me. What are your thoughts on that? Because might be doing this wrong. So, I've had that happen. I have had it where people have sought out to get to, and this happened to Nancy as well. It's happened to both of us, where people would try to get close to us or get to know us, and their motives were not, like, we could instantly tell. We knew that the motives were not right. And so like across the board, I just treat everyone like that. That might not be right. Huh?
I don't. I
This is
don't.
why you're in the family room. This is why, this is why you're in the family room.
Well, there's no right or wrong way. I want to clear that up. There's no one way to go about friendship. But I do want to clear up another myth, that all friendships happen organically, right? Another study they did where they asked people, how they wanted to approach friendship. And those people who said it's going to happen organically, I'm just going to be, at the grocery store, we're both going to reach for the Cocoa Puffs. You'd be like, girl, me too. And it'll just happen naturally. And then the other group of people said, no, I think I have to put some effort in. I have to be intentional, and they followed those people. And I want to say it was 7 years later. Which group of people, I'm gonna ask Nancy, which group of people do you think had the most friends? The ones who said, I'll wait for things to happen organically, or the group who said, no, I think I need to be intentional?
No, the group that has to be intentional. And I'm saying that because I do business development. So I know you have to be intentional.
Boom. Yes, exactly. Now, intentional does not mean disingenuous. It does not, because you talked about people approaching you, Tracy, trying to like get in with the click, like, oh, they seem like they're good friends. I want
Um,
some of that
you
kind
heard
of
that?
thing. And when you recognize that the motives don't seem pure, that is true. That would be a red flag. But if you are vulnerable and honest, like you said, you moved to Maryland. If you move to a new city, which I did, I grew up in St. Louis, Missouri. Shout out to the other people from the Midwest. Then I went to school at Florida A&M. Shout out to any Rattlers listening, or any other HBCU grads. Always looking for ways to connect. Again, an area I didn't know people. And then when I left grad school, I went up to Detroit, and now here I am in Florida. So each of those times I had to make new friends, and being vulnerable and saying, hey, I just moved here and I don't know anybody, and I don't want to, I'm looking for some other women to hang out with. That is genuine, not a, oh, you guys look cool, let me do that too, kind of thing. Let me get in and see what you have, kind of thing. So it really is about the energy that is presented. You don't need to come off with a certain amount of desperation, but it is okay to be vulnerable and say, I am lonely, or I have some good friends, but they're, long distance, and I'm looking to make a local connection.
I'm going to segue just a little bit because I want to talk about what makes a good friend. Like, I feel like that term is used very loosely sometimes. My children used to say, when I was raising them, they used to say, Mom, you got a lot of friends. And I was like, no. I always correct them. And I would say, no, I just know a lot of people, but all of those people are not my friends. And so I want to talk about what what constitutes a friend? Like, what does that look like? Are there different levels? Because I've heard, we've heard that there are different, you got associates. But I want to hear it from you, your perspective and your take on it. But before you do, I want Nancy to share. Nancy, I didn't prep you for this, but I want you to
No, you
just
did not.
let the people give the people a chance to holler for a minute. Can you share the story about the meeting we had at my apartment some years back?
Which meeting are we referring to?
The friendship meeting.
Oh, jeez.
I love the title of that already, the friendship meeting. We should be having more of those kind of forums, honey. Break it down, Nancy. I want to hear.
So basically, Tracy got a group of her friends together
Don't
and
say my
she,
friends. Some of them were your friends too. They
yes,
were
our
our
friends, see,
friends.
actually, let me correct it. Our friends, yes, handful of friends. And basically, she had some points, and you had to check off these points. And this is how she knew if you were really her friend or not. If you, yeah, if you had her back, if you were, had integrity, if she can come to you and be honest with you. And it's just, but it was true. If you give into the relationship, also, it's reciprocal. It is not all about taking. So she had this list and she went through the list, and I was like, only Tracy. Oh, but it did
Well, I
show
want you
us
to, I want
who, go ahead.
that everybody didn't like. My thing is, you're either in my world, or you can't call
Circle.
yourself a friend of mine,
Mm-hmm.
and you're not consistent in that, or it's one sided, or like what is your purpose? And that was really the gist of why I held this meeting at my place. Why are we in each other's life? Do you know why we're in each other's life? That's really what I wanted to know. Do you understand why we are friends, and what is it about us that has us connected? And ultimately it was about a good six of us. After that meeting, only today, three of those people are still my friends today. And I wanted to be honest because sometimes we don't have these real conversations about what are we doing? You know what I'm saying? Like what are we about? What is the motive behind, not the motive. It wasn't a motive, but it was just like if I'm there for you and I call you a friend, I expect for you to be there for me. Now it might look differently because Nancy capacity is not the same as some of my other capacities in my life. But I'm very vocal about that. I don't put expectations on people that I've not communicated and the same thing. And so I think that that's where communication comes in. Now, tell me if I was wrong to hold a meeting, Anika. I don't know, but I did it. It was years ago, but I did it. They thought I was
So,
crazy. They
Tracy,
did.
there are only two of us left from that entire meeting.
My bad.
Currently, there are only two of us left from that meeting. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Like it's not that we're not taught. Like it's not that there's any ill feelings. Like if I saw him today,
Hmm.
we will embrace each other. But I needed to get clarity on regarding some of them, and I got it that night. It sure did. Yeah, we got it that
And I
night.
believe even in for
Yeah.
friendships, there are seasons.
Yeah.
That's true. That's true. Whew, that was a lot to unpack. And I have
I'm
been
sorry. I'm sorry, but you're the expert. That's
no,
why
that's
you're
good.
here.
Consulting people for a long time. It's the first I've heard of a friendship meeting. First I've heard of a friendship meeting like that. Um, so one of the things I love that you said was communication. Communication is key. Direct and compassionate communication, right? So that people don't make assumptions, because there are times when one person feels like they're in the inner circle and the other person's like, we're cool, but I wouldn't consider you on my inner circle. For them, you might be in their inner circle, but for you, they are not. So having communication around what your expectations are so that people don't feel like they're being taken for granted or being left out is important. And you wouldn't believe how many grown women, as you say, seasoned women, don't do that. Just don't feel comfortable saying things like that. The other thing I would say is, if you said you were questioning some of the dynamics of the relationship, depending on the crew, because I don't know, I probably would have addressed it one on one versus bringing everybody together, because some people might not be comfortable. It feels like an intervention, it feels maybe too much pressure. But if you did it one on one, to say, hey, I just want to talk about our friendship, and this is my expectations, yours, and just to make sure you're on the same page, putting it on display in a meeting like that could make someone automatically be on the defensive. But I don't know your friends. They might have been fine with that. You might have had that relationship where they were okay doing it in a group setting. The other thing I will say is, you said, what are we doing here? Now, if it's your inner circle and you're trying to say, hey, this is how I define my inner circle,
Mm,
that's fine. But every person doesn't have to be what we used to call, your ace boon coon. It's
mhm,
fine to have some people on that outer ring, and it's actually necessary. There are three different levels of connection that research shows you should have to be at your happiest, healthiest life. One is that intimate connection. Those are people at that, inner circle. That's your BFFs, right? The second, though, is more, relational. These are people who, you and that mom chit chat when you're waiting for your kid at the bus stop, or you see this person at the gym, or this person works on this committee with you. They're not in your inner circle, but they are still very important because, as you know, you said some of friends fall away, right? You might start with the crew and you have less life stages. People fall off, people pass away. I mean, goodness, unbelievable. People pass away, people move away. And so, who are you going to promote, for lack of a better word, to that next level? People at that second bring, that second tier, are people who can go to that next level because you already have some commonality, you have some closeness, you've talked to them, you've interacted with them, as opposed to saying, well, I don't really want to waste time on you because you're not in my inner circle. So I want to let people know it's important to have that second tier. And then the last type of connection that research shows is important is around a collective, being part of a group, something sort of bigger than yourself. That could be church, that could be a sorority, that could be book club, that could be whatever. Having that collective association is also really important, because there are times when those people can come through for you when even your inner circle cannot. I know personally, I'm in a couple women's groups, and my family is great. I mean, I have only one sister, I have 1,000 cousins. But if something happened to me, first of all, my sister's gonna be a hot mess. She is not gonna be of any use to anybody. But these women's groups that I'm part of, I know they would come to my aid because I have seen us do it for other women. It's a group I'm in called Women on the Rise. And, somebody lost a family member. Somebody's daughter went missing. Somebody's now a widow. Somebody was in a car accident. Somebody needed financial assistance. And we, because of that association, rallied together, showed up, whether it's donating money, setting up a food train, meal train. And sometimes your inner circle can't do all that by themselves.
Wow.
And so having that association with a group is also really important. And you were talking earlier about people who are struggling to make friends. The research shows when you're a kid, meaning, well, they say 21 and under, it's anywhere from 50 to 100 hours to form a new friendship, a new strong friendship. But once you get past 21, it's anywhere from 100 to 200 hours to form a new friendship. And so when you are part of a club or some kind of association, they typically meet regularly. So those are opportunities to rack up hours with, your gardening club, or with your running club, or with your, board that you serve on. And so I don't want to discount all the different levels of friendship. That inner circle is important. Those people on the peripheral, those relational ones, and so are the collective. So you do need to have multiple in different categories because it can serve you in different ways.
Oh, that was really good. Very informative. I
Oh,
loved
thank
how I love the even when you were talking about um promoting, never looked at it that way. You did really look at, oh, your inner circle, associates. Um, and so you really, really, really kind of gave some insight. I'm sorry, sweetie, you okay?
Hold, could you pause a minute?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let me grab some water.
Allergies are right. Um, I don't want to she'll be right back. But I want to shift into, well, I kind of want her back so she can hear this. But
I'll respond real quickly to what you said, though, about
okay.
the importance of meeting people at different levels, because on average, studies show you shed or you lose friends every 7 years. Somebody kind of falls off. And so having people to quote unquote promote at
What?
that level is
How many?
important. Hmm? Every seven
You lose?
years on average.
Really?
Yes.
Is it because
Yes.
we're
So you
changing?
have,
Is it because people die? Why is it every? That's very short.
yeah, I know. And it doesn't necessarily have to be a huge fallout or an argument or a breakup. You just have different life stages that you're going through. So now you weren't a parent before, now you are, you don't have as much time. Maybe you've started a business, maybe you've moved to a different city. And so when I say you are shedding friends, it doesn't have to mean that you're breaking off and having problems with them. It just means there are people who you were close to and you just don't spend as much time with them as you used to. And so having people at that second level is important. My own example, I have great friends in my inner circle. I am one of the few, though, in my group that's an empty nester. Woo, shout out if you got them kids off the payroll. Um, and so sometimes, yes, Nancy, when something comes up, I'm like, yes, I see something. I text my friends, who wants to go here? And they're like, tomorrow? What time? And I really wanted to go to something. And none of the people in my inner circle could go. I went to that next level ring. I said, you know what? There's this one, girl who I have met, and we see each other every time we're at networking events. She really loves, music, live music, the way I do. I'm just going to reach out to her and see if she would want to go. And she did. But it wasn't like, well, just because my two or three besties can't go, then it means I can't do anything. And often I'll do that. I'll just make sure I stay connected with people because you never know what happens, where they might become a stronger friends or vice versa. They might need me for something. And I don't want somebody calling me out the blue, talking about, hey, I need bone marrow. But I ain't seen you in 10 years. But if we check in, we see each other periodically, it makes it a lot easier to stay connected. So that's what I call. I said I have a lot of bone marrow for. If I need something, it's gonna be a long line out the door because I check on people. I stay connected. I don't kick people to the curb. You know what I mean? And I'm okay that you're at different levels.
That is so good. I
That
love how
is so.
you were talking, just the example about the concert because a lot, like I would be the person, my friend can't go, so I'm not gonna go. I wouldn't even think to try to find another friend. It's like I'm glad we're having this conversation because I've always had the mindset, my friends are my friends, and I don't need any more. I don't need anything else. So this is really, really good because this is gonna open me up even more. Um, I want to go ahead and shift because we got a couple more minutes. I want to shift into me and Nancy's dynamic right now, which is why I asked her to come on. One of the reasons why. I moved as I stated before in 2020. And this thing, like at first I didn't think I was gonna be gone long. I thought I was just going to Maryland to visit. But the odd thing, before I left, yeah, I think you remember this, Nancy, I was packing my place up like I was not coming back. It was this tug of war. It was this, like the Lord was like, "You're not coming back," but I was like, "But I am." But I'm packing. It was crazy, and I know I
Mhm.
was driving my friends crazy. Yes, it can definitely respond, but um, I end up moving to Maryland, and that's a that's a whole nother story. But again, I thought I was coming to just celebrate my birthday and come back, but the Lord told me that I was going to be there longer. I thought longer meant a month because I wasn't working anymore. But longer now has turned into 6 years. And
And you said 2020, so that was during the pandemic. A lot of stuff shut down.
Mhm.
Yeah.
yes, yes. So it was just a lot happening. Um, and so I remember when I got here, Nancy was going through a lot at the time. and she could kind of talk on that, but the thing that I picked up the most was that she needed me and I wasn't there. And I couldn't be there because the Lord was like, you have to, because there were a couple of moments where there were a couple of times I wanted to just get back in my car and drive back home because I could feel her and what she was going through, and she could share all or whatever she feels led to share. But the Lord was like, no, you can't leave. And so I was on assignment, and there were things that God was doing with me, but then there were things that God was doing with her as well. And it shifted our relationship to the point where we don't get that one-on-one like we are accustomed to getting when I was living in Orlando. Now it's I'll text her, she'll text me back. It'll be weeks sometimes before we are able to connect with each other and catch up. And that just was not the case before I left. Like Nancy and I talked almost every day, definitely throughout the week before I left here. And so she was such a huge part of my life. And I think that there was a fear that she was going to lose me. And I kept, like, I was reassuring her, like, Nancy's going to be fine. I knew it was going to be fine, but I also knew it was going to shift. I knew things were going to change. And Nancy, if you want to just piggyback in regards to, what you were feeling with that change as well.
So I have to say okay, when Tracy, yes, she moved, um, and it was, we both agreed God was taking her on a different journey. And as her friend, I supported her. And her saying, okay, she's coming back, but when are you coming back? We don't know when you're coming back. To the point where she's like, okay, I think I'm going to be here permanently now, so I need you to pack up my apartment with my sons. And I'm like, okay. Like, packed her apartment with her sons. So I guess when I did that, it was the finality of her not coming back. And after that, my both parents from, I would say from 2021, 20 up until 24, I went through a lot. I had two parents that were ill that I was taking care of. They did not live in this country, they lived in Trinidad. So the burden of being the eldest, and parents are, one has Alzheimer's, the other one has heart problems, and the burden of, I wouldn't even say burden, but as the eldest child, the responsibility of taking care of your parents, and they're not even in the same country with you, it was a lot. And at the same time, like Tracy said, there were close friends, like my other best friend. She and I were going through a different season, and where we were separated. She lived here, but our friendship was estranged. And at that time, I mean, I would call Tracy, and it was hard. I felt like I was so alone. It was, a lot was happening. The fact that I couldn't even reach out to my other friend, that tore me up inside. And even talking to Tracy on the phone, it was not the same. I couldn't just get in my car and go to her apartment. I did not have, I mean, there were other people around me, but it was not the same. And I would say to her all the time, I said, I don't have a friend circle anymore. I just have a smirk. This is what it came down to. And although we joked about it, it was reality. And because of all the stuff that I was going through and the history of the friendships, I was very guarded. And at one point, I mean, I felt betrayed with the other friend. We're fine now, but the friendship does shift. And I think too, it's because as you get older and you see certain things and you have a circle of friends, but then even when you have those friends and you want the ones that you believe are the ones that you can count on and they're not there when you're going through such, it was painful, such pain. And only these people can understand and they're not there. It is the hardest. I would wish it on no one. It is the hardest. People say you have your family, but you create family with friends. My friends are, I'm closer to them than I am with my family. And also with my sister, because my sister lives in Trinidad. So although we talk and we do all that, it's still not the same. And again, I'm the eldest, so everyone, I'm the eldest of three. My sister and my brother, they all come to me. And you are put in a place where you're supposed to be the pillar of strength. And no one really takes the time to say, okay, well, is this person hurting? Are we putting too much on them? And that's a communication that Tracy and I have always had. And I remember one time I went to Tracy's apartment, and this is one of the things that I miss. And I was so angry at one time with my husband, and she had never seen me like that. She saw a whole different side of me, and she was like, whoa. And it just went, I just went, "Trrrr," and her eyes opened up, and she could not believe. She's like, okay, I don't think I've ever seen this side of you. And it takes a lot for me to get to that point. But when I get to that point, it's like that faucet comes, it starts running. And just to have a person that you can sit with and she's like, okay, I'm gonna let you flow, I'm gonna let you do all this. And you can run from here to there. And then when I'm done, she said, okay, let's talk about it. And what do you think this is? And why do you feel this way? So being able to have those conversations in person is different than having it on the phone.
I agree 100%. I have a session I do called IRL, meaning in real life, is greater
Hmm.
than URL. Because there
Hmm.
are so many, especially the young people thinking that they can just have friends online. And I agree with you 100%. It's not the same as getting somebody to hug you right there, to have
Correct.
that eye contact, to have that
Hmm.
transference of energy.
And you are, I mean, Tracy and I, we try to catch up. Both our schedules are busy. Um, and when you talk about association, I'm very familiar with Women on the Rise. I've been to a couple of their events, but I'm also part of another women's association that I have created friends, the National Association of Women in Construction. And these are some of the ladies that I can call on. There are a handful of them that I can call on, and we support each other. And we have those long night discussions. And the thing about it too, I don't get into intimate details with them, but they call me mom because I tend to gravitate to the younger woman than the older woman. And so not only do I gravitate, they gravitate to me also. They find me and they come and they just sit and we have conversations. So, and even if we have to go somewhere, like you said, if one person doesn't want to go, I'm like, okay, what about this person? What about that person? That's what we do. And we support each other, whether it's professional, personal, or just like yesterday, we had a meeting and one of the ladies, she was going through a hard time. I just stopped right there in the parking lot, gave her a hug, prayed for her. We went on inside, and that was it.
I'm so glad you shared that example, and kudos to you for having the strength and the vulnerability and courage to share what you were going through with your parents. You raised two things I want to talk about. That hug in the parking lot. You said that person is not in your inner circle. You haven't
Mm,
shared all your intimate details the way
right.
vented about your husband to Tracy, but that moment for that person could have meant everything. So that's why I tell people don't discount those tier two sort of relationships. And you don't know what years down the road that person might be a closer, friend of yours. So I'm really glad you brought up that example. It's okay to still be there for other people just because they are not somebody we've known since the fourth grade. The other thing that I try to tell people when I told you that example about I wanted to go some places and I have a couple people who I've met and I'm like, I know she likes, this kind of food. My friend, this
Mhm.
one doesn't like sushi, but this lady told me she does. And sometimes you'll get your inner circle will start to get jealous. I saw you online. I saw a pic. Who you hanging with now? You know what I mean? Sometimes they're joking, but a lot
Mhm.
of times it is, something underneath that. And
Mhm.
for Tracy to sit here and listen to you say, I have some people locally who I can tap into, that does not in any way discount from your friendship. All those people who have come in now, who have the benefit of being local and, being able to give you an actual hug, they don't erase all the 16 years that you guys have. They don't erase all those other memories. They don't erase all those conversations. So I try to tell people they don't have to. I mean, jealousy is a normal emotion that people feel, just like anger and sadness and happiness. Um, but you can have both. You can have
Mhm.
multiple. You don't have to have one or the other. The other thing I hit home with women, 80% of us will die alone. I'm going to pause for effect there. 80% of women are going to die alone, meaning you never got married. You could be a widow. You chose not to get married, divorce, whatever it is, because statistically, men die earlier than women. And we know it's a bunch of reasons why, right? But they don't live as long as women on average. And so, in the end, if you don't take that time to invest in those friendships, or you put all of your eggs in two baskets from your friends from middle school and somebody moves away, and it might not be anything bad, they have a better opportunity, spiritually they were called and led somewhere else. It could be anything. You can't put all your eggs in one basket, because if you look a couple decades down the road, that person who's your boo, your partner, I don't need anything, I got my man, I got my spouse. For 80% of the women, that person will not be there. So it's important to have those golden girls, right? Those women who you can support and lean on each other with, and to make sure you have, a couple in backup reserve, because you just don't know what will happen. Sometimes we feel like friendship shouldn't change, and friendship is just another relationship. You wouldn't be in a romantic relationship with a partner and expect over 10, 20, 30 years for nothing to change. Lord, I would hope that there would be some growth, some maturity, some changing. And so why not with friendships? Are there sometimes ebbs and flows, and oh, we used to get along well and now we're only catching
Right.
up, and like that's part of the ride, and you don't have to break up. You don't have to get in your feelings about it. Or if you do get in your feelings about it, that's human nature. But you can communicate and talk and say, this is a relationship like anything else, and it is supposed to also go through different seasons and stages. And hopefully, the best of friendships can survive those.
You're on mute.
You're muted, Tracy, because your little microphone has a line through it. Can she hear us? Yeah. Yeah, you got muted accidentally. There you go.
I
You
put it
might have
on mute
accidentally hit
because
a
she
button.
was staticky. Yeah, I put it on mute because she was staticky. But um, I don't think I feel like our we're kind of at this we're we know where we are, because at first it was just kind of like ugh, it's that transition initially of being apart. I think we had to go through that. She was she got sworn in as president for the organization she was talking about that she's connected with. And she called me and she was like, I need you to come. And it was like a year prior. She was like, I need you to be there. It's on this date. And I was like, okay, I'll be there. And I made sure I was in place because I wanted her to know something as important as that. I wanted her to know that I was number one, I was proud of her. And number two, I supported her, and I wanted to witness that. And so even when I come home to Orlando to visit, I have to sneak in these times, with my girls. And sometimes it's a little bit
Yep.
challenging because now my family has grown. I have grandchildren now. And so it's just the juggling of um staying connected and seeing the people that I love, because they're not just my friends, they became my family. They were my family. So much so that we did holidays together sometimes. So I do appreciate this conversation because again, you said so many wonderful things. Anika, in regards to opening. I'm hoping that the audience now know that they can open up more as it pertains to friendships so that they can build that next chapter in their life and they are not alone by themselves with 9 cats and no friends. I don't want that for my life. That's for sure. So I want to just say thank you so much. Any last words, Nika, Nancy?
I want to say thank you for having me anytime I have an opportunity, and I'm honored that you asked me to spread this friendship message. I try to take it. Uh, Anyone listening, and hopefully they followed your advice and they're sharing this, you can find me at Five Star Friendships. That's FIVE Star Friendships. And one of the other things you can get is my journal. Some people don't want to do one-on-one coaching, or they don't have the opportunity to come to a workshop or hear me speak at a conference. You can do self-guided. This is called Friendships to Go, where you can go through at your own pace. There are different exercises each day, or once a week, or once a month, and it just sort of walks you back into getting social again. And you can get that at my website again, fivestarfriendships.org. And I'm on all the social medias. I post once a day. That's how you found me. So that it's just a way to remind people of some of the research. I challenge you to reach out to people. So I'm Five Star Friendships everywhere: TikTok, YouTube, also Facebook and Instagram, and as well as LinkedIn.
Thank you for having me. I'm not quite sure what is happening with my throat right now, but I want to say very good conversation. Tracy, even in having these conversations, it still brings up some emotion. We've gotten past it, but there's still that emotion of we never really talked about, okay, what does this mean? And here we are on a podcast, and here it is. Some of the things that we never talked about that's coming up again. Oh, I don't know why I'm tearing up. You're going to be here. I see you all the time.
Have a good
Well,
crybaby
that's the
moment.
reason
That's
why.
awesome.
That's why I wanted you to come on because and that's why I wanted Annika to come on. I was like, you know what? Let's just dive into it. And this is what the family room is about. The family room is a
Right.
space where we talk about things that are uncomfortable. We talk about things that sometimes we don't think about, just so that we can have these very honest conversations. And the truth of the matter is, as it pertains to you and I, our relationship has changed. The dynamics of our relationship has changed, but our love for one another, that will never change. You are forever my sister, and I love you, and I thank
It
God
has
for
not.
you.
And I will tell you this: what we, as we get older and we realize, we evolve, friendships do change, and some friendships die. It's just that we have to recognize which ones are dying and which ones are changing, and accept those. Because sometimes when you have friends who are like family and their lives change, it's like a piece of you that has gone away, and you have to find time to
I get
accept that, and sometimes even mourn that part of the friendship.
Yeah, I get it. Trust me.
Hmm.
Well, I don't want to delay the time. Thank you everyone for being in the family room and having this friendship conversation with us. We will be back again next Sunday, right here in the family room. Do me a favor, share this live, share this with your friends, share it with your families. There was so much wisdom, so many great nuggets that Anika shared today. And also make sure you're following her on her social media platforms as well. Until next week, God bless you. Take care. Bye.
It's Just a Season, Not a Sentence is a book of wisdom to help navigate and shift your perspective when going through life's journeys. Tracy illustrates God's plan of purpose by sharing her personal experience of God's promises remaining true even after divorce. Whatever you may be experiencing at this time, remember, it's just a season, not a sentence. You can embrace the purpose over the pain.